So unlike most people who are running multi-million-dollar agencies, I actually don't live in the city. I live in a small Texas town, about 10,000 people, and I live on a ranch with my husband and my 3 dogs. Our ranch is a cattle ranch, so we have about 2,000 to 2,500 head of cattle. Our whole family operation really is agriculture associated, so we do horse riding trails, we have cattle farming that happens, and then we also do some wild game hunting on the property as well. My ranch has been in my husband's family since 1847, and it is about 3,000 acres, which is approximately the size of 3.5 Central Parks. Marrying being the head of a multi-million-dollar company and also being in the realm of a ranch, which really is a 24/7 job anyway, is not for the faint of heart. I wouldn't recommend it for everybody, but it's an incredible experience where I get the opportunity to not only engage with my clients and create amazing results during work hours, during office hours, but I also get to take mile-long hikes, I get to interact with my livestock, and ultimately I get to invest my time and energy in my off hours in something that just brings me a lot of joy and a lot of satisfaction. If there are any other female entrepreneurs out there who maybe don't live in New York City, they don't live this beautiful, fabulous life, I'm here to tell you that it's okay. There are tons of opportunities in the online space, and our world is more connected than it's ever been for you to be able to get out there, make your message heard, and ultimately be profitable while doing it. You don't have to be limited to where you are physically anymore. It's an amazing opportunity. When retailers are trying to build successful Facebook ads, it's important that they're considering not just the ads side of things. Yes, you need to have beautiful ads with really clear calls to action, but it's also important that you have a well-converting site and ultimately the infrastructure on the back end in order to support a large influx of purchases. And so one thing that I think a lot of retailers forget is they need to be prepared for what it is that they are actually asking Facebook ads or any traffic source to produce, and that's a huge influx of traffic and a huge influx of orders. And so if I had any advice, I would say that it's important that you're building the foundation pieces first before you actually jump into Facebook ads. When we talk about building your foundation for e-commerce brands, for retailers, to ultimately be able to run successful Facebook ads, we're really talking about 3 specific things. We're talking about your front-facing messaging, we're talking about your offer, and we're talking about your website or your conversion rate, right? So we're talking about how it is that you're presenting your story, the things that are unique about you and the things that are unique about your product and your brand to the world through your ads. We're talking about what is the actual offer. Is it a 15% off offer? Is it just, hey, you're going to be a part of a movement? What's that thing that actually draws people in and gets them to ultimately click on the ad and land on your website and ultimately convert? And then we're talking about your website. Your website needs to be optimized for purchases. It needs to be optimized for conversions. So we're talking about things like add to cart rates. We're talking about making sure that you have free shipping inside of your website, that you have like a solid returns policy, things like that that ultimately, again, are foundational pieces. And when you're asking about building a huge, amazing strategy for ads, a lot of times the questions are wrong, right? We are asking, how do we be profitable with ads, when really all ads is intended to do is get your right audience to you. And so what we should be asking is, how can I build a foundation that's so strong that once I decide to move forward with ads, ultimately I'm in the best possible place in order to serve my customers well. When people approach Facebook ads, one thing that they tend to always get wrong is business owners want to be so creative. They want to be different, they want to be unique, and actually that's forsaking their brand and their mission. So we need to be incredibly clear inside of ads, what is your offer and why is it that someone should click? So for example, one of our best performing headlines in our own business is done for you Facebook ads. We've tried the unicorns of Facebook ads. We have tried Facebook ads that really work. We have tried lots of other titles, and still the one that works the best is always the most simple, because we don't want to ask our customers to work too hard and try to think and figure out what you're trying to say. Instead, we should make it really easy and really simple for them to understand. When it comes to Facebook and Instagram versus other social platforms, I think the one thing that people tend to forget about, or they tend to not give enough credit to, is the fact that Facebook and Instagram are kind of OGs in the space. They've been around for quite a long time. One statistic that not a lot of people know is that 80% of the people who work in artificial intelligence actually work for either Google or Facebook. All other platforms have miles and miles to make up before they're actually going to get to where Facebook is at in terms of its, not only its artificial intelligence and its algorithm, but also the amount of information that it has on its users. We're talking about users that have been using this platform for 15 years plus, in comparison with a platform like TikTok, for example, whose users have really only been there for 2 years. Now, they're active, and it's a quickly growing platform. But when we're comparing it to an advertising platform like Facebook and Instagram, it's sort of like apples and oranges. They're two totally different things. And our advice to our clients is always to make sure that you have a solid foundation no matter what. And one of those foundations for us has been Facebook and Instagram ads. It is just a tool at the end of the day. Any platform is just a tool, but Facebook and Instagram has incredibly advanced targeting. It has incredibly advanced algorithms. And in comparison to these other platforms, it just doesn't quite measure up. And so Facebook can give you a really great litmus test for, is my messaging working? Are my ads targeted correctly? So that when you go to some of the less advanced platforms, you actually have everything that you need already figured out. And then it just becomes a rinse and repeat system where you're able to be in control of your own growth using those platforms, and you can confidently say, this is working for me or it's not, in comparison to Facebook and Instagram, because that really does get to be the litmus test at the end of the day. When it comes to data, the metrics that truly matter are the cost per click, the link click-through rate, your add to cart rate, your abandoned cart rate, and ultimately your website conversion rate. So cost per click. Your cost per click needs to be at $1 or less. Plain and simple. That should be what you're shooting for. When you're talking about a link click-through rate, this is people who are clicking on your ad to actually go to your website. That should be at 1% or higher, meaning it's resonating with at least 1 out of every 100 people. If it's not, probably means that your audience targeting is a little off. And then when we get to your website, you need to have a 15% add to cart rate. So out of every 100 people, 15 of them are adding to cart based on what you have. And then out of those people that add to cart, we expect that 30% of those are going to fall off, that they're actually not going to complete their checkout. Now, whether that's because the doorbell rang or they decided that something, wasn't right in your cart, that's what we get to sort of look at, right? We get to decide and establish through those statistics where our customers are falling off and how we can ultimately improve the customer journey. So all of those stats together equal usually between a 2 to 4% website conversion rate, which is the perfect place that you need to be in order to start thinking about running some paid traffic to your site. If you want to find out more about optimizing your Facebook ads and how you can increase your conversion rates and ultimately get better performance through Facebook and Instagram ads, you can find us online at theadgirls.com.